Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we are pleased to be joined by Callum Illot, the driver of the number 77 Chevrolet for Juncos Hollinger Racing in the NTT Data IndyCar Series, and coming off a really great run for the team, a top 5 finish at St. Pete to start the year. Callum, how are you?
I'm great. I've had a little bit of time to recover after, an intense hot race, but no, really, really good. Yeah, it was great to start the year like that. I mean, there's not much more to say than that. Kept it calm, cool, and collected, and yeah, collected those points.
Yeah, I mean, to score the team's best ever results. Let me say that again. Best ever results at St. Pete. What did that mean to you? And obviously, there was a lot of craziness, a lot of carnage in that race. But to survive, not just for you, but for your teammate Augustin as well. First time as a two-car team. You guys did probably the best job that that the team has ever done.
Yeah, no, it was super impressive. Obviously, it's not easy when you're starting P22. I wasn't sure what we can kind of achieve with that. I knew if we got a good strategy, some clear air, I could make up a couple of places. But it was quite evident early on that it was a super slippy track, especially with those restarts. So I kind of, after the first stint, was able to jump up a couple of places, and I think I was about P11 or P13. And at that point, I was like, okay, we got some good points. We made up some places. It's still a long race, but I'll kind of take it easy. And so every restart, I was just playing it easy, and then you just see two cars, three cars, and it was kind of just unfolding that way. And I kept hanging, probably taking it in a certain way too easy, and I lost maybe one or two positions later on in the race, which I got back after that. But just by taking it a bit easy, but it pays off, everyone who was kind of overdoing it, making mistakes, and sometimes it's like that. But as a team, it was great. I mean, we did struggle Friday, Saturday, I have to say, which was frustrating. But coming into Sunday to have two cars finish, not only finish well, and get our best result so far of Juncos's career and of my career as well is great. And for my teammate, it was a tough race for him. He hung in there. It's probably the most physical race of the season. But yeah, we got, I would say, probably one of the best starts, considering that's probably one of the worst tracks for us as a kind of car.
Yeah. So, coming into this year and, just seeing how far this team has come since they went to full-time IndyCar, just to talk about like the growth that you've seen with this team since you've gotten here.
I mean, the growth has been incredible. Obviously, I did the end of 2021, those last three races, and it was in a certain way a little bit disappointing because everything was put together last minute, just a boatload of problems, and the future was such a long way off at that point. And then we managed to do this deal with Carlin, and that basically took us already a much greater step. But we were kind of following off of what obviously Carlin had been doing for the last 4 years, and meant that there was a complete brand new starting point, and we had to kind of go from there. And then we developed the whole way through last year, slowly kind of fine-tuning everything we had. And at the end of the year, we had a very, very solid race car. Over the winter, we've had a lot of items, well, for us, a lot. I mean, maybe for other teams, it's still quite a small amount, but a lot of new stuff coming in, and managed to put it together. And I think the car is in a good place. We still miss a bit of pace. Obviously, I'm interested to see when we come back to the stronger tracks for us, like Barber, where we're at. But we still miss a little bit of pace. But I think we've been able to improve on the strategy. We've been able to improve on the pit stops. We've got a more compliant, easier to drive race car. Um, and I think as a team, we're just a lot more solid. And all these little areas that we can put together makes a big, big difference. And as you see, like that was just a good, solid weekend, and we were able to bring it P5.
Yeah. So, first time as a two-car team, of course, you have a teammate that's had a lot of success in his racing career. Um, what's it like to have Augustine on your team and or Augustine on your team, and just really kind of talk about what he kind of brings. And I know he's kind of pushing himself to speak a little more English as well.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it was quite I think in Ricardo's mind to bring Augustine in, um it started quite early, but I think things weren't finalized till later on. And when it was finalized, he did like a 3 month intensive English course, and it was amazing to see when he did his first test versus coming at the beginning of this year. And I was like, oh, we can have a conversation now. This is great. We're getting somewhere. His improvement was incredible on that. Obviously, it's a super tall order to come into IndyCar with no single seater experience. The only other one to have done that is Scott McLaughlin. But of course, the the team and the preparation you have at Penske, I imagine, is a massive step up to what we are able to provide. So that's not easy at all. I do feel for him a little bit on that side. But he came into thermal and the test we had earlier in the year and thoroughly impressed. Every session was improving and improving. Then we had Sebring a shorter test afterwards, and that was interesting for him to go back to a track that he had previously tested at the year before in the car. And then we arrive at St. Pete. You don't have much time, and he didn't put it in the wall. He finished the race. He improved every session. And I think even towards the end of the race, he found some things in his driving that can help. And I think, every weekend is going to be an improvement for him. And the closer he is to me, the better it is for the team. But I already see like his feedback is very similar to what I'm feeling with the car. So that's only a benefit. Of course, I think when we get a little bit later on in the championship, I think for the team it's going to be a bit more help. Obviously, it's more difficult right now because it's kind of a catch-up game. Um, he's obviously trying to learn as much as quick as possible. But when we come to Barber, he's going to be testing there next week. So that will give him a bit of a starting point there. But when we come back for the race, I think that's where we'll start to see the ball rolling. I would take these first three races, especially the oval, was a big learning point. But no, when Ricardo first told me, I was like, look, if you see something in him and you see the potential, I believe you on that. And so far, I mean, the guy's super good for the experience he has, super good.
Yeah. So, we go through, there's all these different types of tracks that we're going to be heading to in IndyCar. Of course, we're going to be heading to another street course, and, with Long Beach. Of course, Texas is coming up as well. And then, of course, Barber. Texas obviously is the next race that you guys have. It'll be a while before we get there. But overall, what are we looking at for the oval on the oval side of things? Because of course, we got Texas coming up.
Yeah, I can't really give you an answer. I mean, Texas, we finished 16th last year, yeah. And it was kind of a solid debut, but I had so much to learn in such a short space of time that I'm 100% sure I would do a better job being thrown in right now. As a car, I think we've got a couple of little developments which should help, but you don't have a lot of time to test them. So, um, it will be tough. It's never easy on those over weekends, but I'm sure Texas will be a massive improvement over last year just because of the experience I have now. I think obviously the place I want to improve the most is the 500.
Yeah. So coming into this year, do you feel like what's been the biggest difference from this year to last year when you came in?
I think just understanding the package that we have. Last year, I kind of went in circles a bit to discover how to make the car quick. And again, it wasn't really until kind of Barber and beyond where we realized what window we had to put the car in to make it as quick as it could be with what we had. Um, and I felt that the package we had received was really in the wrong window completely, and especially for me as a driver, it was just not right. But we had to kind of compete those races until we kind of isolated everything we needed to change. Right now, we've got the car that we finished with last year. Obviously, it's a bit of a discovery process with these green Waiuli tires. That's a bit new for us. Uh, but we're just more in control, more understanding. I think the team knows a bit more about where we want to go and what we need to do. I know a lot more and compared to last year of what I need and what makes me fast. And the calm, cool, collected, the pressure's kind of off, you know. It's like you know how everything works on the weekend. You know, like take Iowa, for example. We had really bad qualifyings on those short ovals, but I knew, or I know now that on the Sunday we have a great race car and you're stressing yourself Saturday thinking, oh, Sunday's going to be such a long day, it's going to be a horrendous race. And then you actually turn up and you're like, oh, actually, you know, it's not too bad. I can't complain. And it's those kind of weekends. I was explaining to Augustine that you know, you just need to be calm because like some mornings we'll put the car out and it will be really bad. And you know, you just have to chip away at it and it will become good. You take your time. Don't overdo it like this weekend in St. Pete, Friday, Saturday was really, really bad. When we arrive on the Sunday with higher fuel, a few little adaptations, we're straight away P5 in warm up and then P5 in the race. So it's just about patience, controlling, and understanding.
Yeah. And then what's talk about the tires you mentioned, of course, the new tire compound on the street courses. How did you think that went for you and getting used to that?
I think it was all right. I'm sure some other teams are a bit quicker with that. The problem we had was we kind of messed up, but we didn't really run on them before qualifying. So we found ourselves running out of time, even though we had more tires than we needed with the way it was set up for the weekend. We ran out of time on FP2 to put them. So we were fairly limited on what to expect, which you know did stuff us a bit in qualifying, but that's the way it goes. And we figured out kind of where they are. We had a little bit of experience of them in Nashville last year. But yeah, different, difficult tire. I think a few little differences in the balance as to what we expected compared to the Reds. The Reds, it was very clear that's the balance you get. You need to make this adjustment and this adjustment. Whereas this, it was like, I don't know, maybe it's the opposite for this. And then the race, I mean, it's a long 30 laps what people were planning to do on those greens. So you saw a lot of people dropping off. Um, but you know, you're kind of in no man's land if you box at 10 laps, and you're in no man's land if you box at 30 laps, and if you're in the middle, you're definitely in no man's land. So you kind of had to go each way. But I think we did a better job than some. I wouldn't say it was the best, but no, it seemed good.
Yeah. And then, of course, only a few weeks, as I mentioned, heading into this next race in Texas. What do you want to see out of this team improve on, and then in race number 2 of the year?
Uh, I really want to see an improvement in the qualifyings of the ovals. I think that's where we really suffered last year. I mean, every qualifying except for the 500, we were 20 plus, which is not great, and I didn't really see where I was going wrong on that side. But then we'd arrive on the Sunday and the car would be a quick race car. So I think we have something that we're just not maximizing the peak grip that you can get on a new tire. And it does relate to actually some of the street circuits as well in a completely separate way. But you know, that's one of the other problems we have there. So that would be nice to see. And then I just kind of want to re-baseline and see where I'm at more than at a team because uh, I think there's just been a massive learning curve through all the ovals of last year, and to go back to Texas and kind of feel it out again would be good.
All right. Well, Callum Illot, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck in Texas in a few weeks.
Thank you very much. Hopefully it goes really well.